Hello and welcome to yet another Newtarian astrology special event. And as you can see from your screen, we are talking about this appearance of this comet that in our more in-person physical meeting, you may have heard me mention about. And that is Comet C2023 A3 Tsuchinshan Atlas. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that last part correct. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's a reference to the specific instruments. Comets are usually named by those who discover them, but it just happens that these days, this kind of discovery of astronomical objects is being relegated to machines and computers. So most often the identification doesn't happen directly by a human, and therefore these are astronomical observatories. I believe one of them is in China, the first one. That is why it's a little bit of a hard thing for some of us to pronounce it. Tsuchinshan Atlas, and Atlas is I think a radio observatory, a complex that is located somewhere at the tip of a southern tip of the African continent. So this astrological special event, we're talking about it because we need to look at the happenings that are happening with the motions and the transits of this spatial atlas. But before we get along, my name is Jeroge Wahome Warubongo. I'm an astrologer within Neo-Terran astrology. And today, I don't want to take a lot of time. I just look at the main characteristics of this comet, and therefore we can understand what it is that we can cause influence with and how we can harness whatever energies will be signified by this comet. A comet is important to understand. It's an astronomical sign. Therefore, a sign does not speak of an authority, but it gives you, it delineates what is it that you can speak at what time and what is it that you can accomplish, and it gives you markers, waypointers. Like, think about it like a road sign. A road sign that tells you, like, let's say, don't move at beyond 80 kilometers per hour at this point. The road sign itself does not stop you from exceeding that speed limit, but it just gives you an indicator of what you may do there. And if you get fined, it is not a sign that will fine you, but it is because of the actions that you take. But it is a sign point. So think about it. Comets, the best way to think about them is using that analogy of road signs. Is that it's giving you there is this indicator, there's the indicator, and then the actions that you ought to do at that point in time. Those are the ones that directly influence whatever consequences that is going to happen in the aftermath or in the time of a comet. Now, even before I do that, you'll realize that at the point where we're talking about this comet, we are reading through locally, and at the global stage, there's a lot of shiftings, and some of them may come in even periodic when it comes to whether it comes to wars. If you look at the Middle East, there's a lot of developments that are happening at this period in time. If you look across the Atlantic Ocean in places like the Americas, there's a lot of events. We're talking about just the other day with my partner as we discussed something about just a couple of weeks ago. We had this devastating storm that hit some of the southern states in the United States. That's places like Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. There's this storm called Helene, and it was being said in some instances that this could be the deadliest storm since the one that happened almost 20 years ago. The one we talk about, Hurricane Katrina, that submerged large parts of the state of, I think, New Orleans. So this could be of such a dramatic event. And then what struck was even more amazing is that we not even settled down from running about the aftermath of that storm. And America, the United States now, they are bracing themselves for even what could be potentially more catastrophic a hurricane, which has been classified in some quarters as category 5, the highest destructive amount of winds and water surges. And actually, one of the most important things they have downgraded the wind speeds of this new hurricane from I see. I think from being a category 5 storm to a category 4. But what people don't notice is that hurricanes don't destroy mainly the death and destruction that often happens. But it's not of the wind. The winds can be very bad because sometimes they can whip very large debris and make them projectiles that can knock down people and infrastructure. But it is also the water, and there's water, the surge, or what the rise in the sea level for coastal areas for Hurricane Helene. It was running up, I think, about 6 feet, and they're talking about three, so up to perhaps 3 times, two or close to 3 times the amount of a coastal water surges or salt water is going to blanket and encompass this area. Now, the question I want to ask: is it the comet that is causing this um, devastation and destruction? Not entirely. What happens is that when these signs appear, and what it does is, if you look at everything, is the predictability. See, there is the possibility. What comes is the possibility of turnaround and change of things, and therefore we are going from what we may call predictable weather and climatic conditions to unpredictable. And what it means is that we need people with enough authority to determine what sort of unpredictability, whether the consequences of its unpredictability or changeover or turnaround, as we're going to see tonight, whether it is of good consequence or of wrong consequence. So we're going to talk about that as I go. And I wanted us to be very much well aware of these events. Now, locally, I've just touched on what is happening across the Atlantic. If we come to this other side of the continent, in our own country, Kenya, where most of us neoterran astrologers are located, we're talking about a time of unprecedented political events. We are talking about the tour de force of political power that swept the last election, and therefore the coalition that went into power is experiencing some sudden upheaval. So just last night we saw something that is totally unprecedented coming. And this realignment, political realignment, the most important thing is not that Gachagua was impeached, but what I want to say is what sort of formation is going to take place after this, and of what consequence will it be to those that will follow, that which will follow. And therefore, we can determine and we can make specific pronouncements to the outcome that will happen. And keep that in mind tonight as you go along and look at the things that are happening. And therefore, also much more to our own understanding and philosophical, the philosophy with which we understand creative astrology and the areas of our influence. And this is going to happen in the aftermath of what is going to take place tonight. So let's look at a little bit more detail about this comet and what it is about. Now, first thing to note about Comet C2023 A3 Tsuchinshan Atlas is that it is a non-periodic comet. But what do we mean with that? We mean that this comet may never return to the inner solar system. If it returns, it will take thousands or maybe millions of years. And, or rather, that's unlikely. It will have to be on a very different trajectory than this one. Therefore, it is not. Normally, if you're a comet hunter or you do follow comets and you see a comet with an indication, if it is its name, like now its name starts here at C2023 here. We're about C. If this C was a P, then it means a periodic comet. and that means it will return its trajectory. Its orbit is such that it enables it to go either to the outer solar system, cool down for maybe a number of years, maybe a number of decades, come back. Can either be a short period comet or a long period comet. A short period comet makes its return within a number of years or maybe 1 or 2 decades. That can be caught because it will make a return within perhaps several times in somebody's lifetime. But others are long periods that can take many decades, sometimes it can take over 100 years, but it is certain to be returning or across what we may call living memory. And therefore, these are important because when they are periodic, you can speak and be able to be sure that your words will have consequence across a period of time that perhaps arise within your lifetime. You can be able to track that motion and cause creative inference in that way. Now, think about periodic comets is that you can be able to look backwards and be able to understand the order of human events across that time period and be able to tell what sort of order or disorder or chaos that occasioned that period in time. And therefore, by the time that comet makes a reappearance, you be well positioned to either cause inference to change the outcome or to make that outcome be of greater effect or to be of more significance to yourself and those within your orbit of influence. Now, let's go back now to non-periodic comets like the one we have. One of the things to notice is that there are dozens of these that appear. There are many, multiple, maybe close to 50, maybe up to 100 that appear every year. Several do come every month. Even as we're speaking, there are still several that are already in our skies, but they are too tiny. They are not bright enough to be observed with the eyes. So, non-periodic comets, these are the ones that don't make a return, remember, become significant to us as near-Terran astrologers if they attain a certain level of brightness, especially if that is clear to the human eye. Now, how bright does an astronomical object have to be clear to the eye? Let's just I'm looking first of all here. If I search for the suns, the magnitude of the sun is about magnitude 30, negative 30. The smaller the number that is indicating a magnitude of an object, astronomical object, the brighter it is. So minus 26 is as bright as any astronomical object, or minus 30 thereabout, as any astronomical object can ever get, and that is the brightness of the sun. If you look at the moon is about negative 10. The third brightest object in the sky is Venus, and Venus has about magnitude of minus 4 to minus 3 thereabout. And if an object has got magnitude of beginning with 4, going down to 3, 2, 1, 0, about what that can be observed, especially if your skies don't have high light pollution as we do have in major cities such as those of us are in Nairobi. If it goes below magnitude 1, around magnitude 1, that is the brightness of stars such as, or other planets such as Mercury, star, like depending on its location close to the sun, Mars, Jupiter. Jupiter is a little bit more brighter, almost as bright as Venus, by the way, so it's negative. We are now going to negatives now. And by yesterday, that is Tuesday, Comet C2023 A3 Tsuchinshan Atlas attained magnitude minus 3.3. So by yesterday morning, This was the fourth brightest astronomical object in the sky. And that is great because now that makes it into be a great comet. It will be non-periodic, but it's still a great comet. And that means, because there's a sign that every eye that can see, it attains global significance. And that is why I'm saying there is a lot of upheaval, changes, and transitions in places across the world. And this will only continue. So it's not for nothing that we are witnessing this kind of unprecedented stories across the current affairs universe. Now, the most important, what is going to happen now, up to this point, the, this comet has been, in the time that it has been, it's been naked eye astronomical object. It's been in the dawn skies. But something is going to happen this very night. The night that is ahead of us day, the 6th of our second month in our year 005 Auranium dispensation. And that is going to attain conjunction with the sun. It's very, very important. And I want us to be able to look at that, because right after that conjunction that is going to happen on this night that is coming, this planet, it will turn from being a dawn comet and become somewhere, it will appear in the dusk right after dawn. That is the turnaround. That is the event that is most important because it can be programmed. So the outcome of every one of these events, and by the way, I'm telling you, by the time it's a dusk comet, a lot of things will have happened, like that. Remember what I talked about, the storm that is coming across southern United States? It will have made landfall by that time. And the aftermath of it, and of whatever changes is going to portend, not only in the political but economic sphere, what we have done, and we can be able to speak about its significance in the days that are ahead. Now, I want us to switch from this view, and I want us to go to the point where we can track this using my astronomical observatory software, and that is where we are today in real time. Now, because during the day we won't be able to see much of this comet because of effect of the atmosphere, but if I were to take away the atmosphere and we zoomed in, we'll be able to see the position of this comet. And what you see is that this is its location here, and I want to get a pointer. Let me get a pointer now that will enable us to highlight its position. See how close to the sun it is, and this is the point at which this what will happen. Now, normally the indicator that shows us whether the conjunction with the sun has happened. With this, it's how we look at it, what we call ecliptic longitude. And at this point in time, it is still 1 degree 0.54593. If we want to see how the comet has moved and where its location in the sky, let's move out sneak out a little bit, and let's stop this time from progressing forward. We've literally stopped the time, and we're going to calculate its positions moving back about 2 months in the past, and then looking at what it will be 2 months to come. And in that period of time, we'll also be able to take a look at important junctions and points of indication of where we can speak in a way that causes this astronomical event to have significance for us and for what our spheres of influences are. And therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to what we call the astronomical calculations window here. And I had already looked at this. Let's look at what we call an ephemeris. And therefore, what I'm going to do is change the dates here from this date, otherwise let's go, forgive me for using Gregorian calendar dates. Let's go to 1st of August and then move forward over 2 months into the future. That is the 30th of November. And calculate its transits over a single day. Let's calculate its positions. Now, this seems to be giving us still in jumps of 3 days. I don't know why. Didn't tie. Let's clean up those ephemeris and let's calculate them again. It's still using 3-day on solar day. Or can use 12 hours. Clean up and then calculate them once again. That is a little bit of a better representation. If you zoom out, you'll be able to see this is where the comet was at the beginning of its period in time. And if you know a little bit about our houses, it's very, very important because it's a very important region in our skies. This point where the sun moves, you see where the sun is, where the sun moves in alignment with this point at the beginning of our calendar year. But and therefore you see it's been moving in sort of progressive fashion, replicating really necessarily the motions of the sun. But before the beginning of that period in time, before it made the sun, it was moving in the opposite direction. Therefore, these are dates in August, 27th of August. Let's just actually change this one so that we are going in August and we are looking at the comet like that will be 9th of August. Let's see where it is. So that's where you would have seen it. And I don't know that I moved it too far. Zoomed out too much. If you can see this point where there is this animation of pointers, it's showing exact location of that comet. And therefore, if I move across days, you'll be able to see that that point is moving. We need to move a little bit more to zoom out a lot more. And this is the beginning of September. It's still making that turn by 15th, and by the time we get to around 20th, the comet is moving and has attained a magnitude of 0.3, so it's already approaching and it gains a tail. Don't be too much fascinated by the animation that Terrarium is giving us, because this is a stock image. It doesn't mean that it had a yellow and a blue tail. It actually had only one tail, according to those other images I've seen. I also have been able to capture its motions, and I said yesterday was the most significant day. As you can see here, if you're moving to 3rd of October, that's important. And I wanted to talk about this because this is a praise of a lot of change in the celestial heavens. This is the division between House 12 and the constellation of Leo the Lion, as you can see here, and the constellation of Virgo the Maiden. The stars and planets move in this prograde fashion. So they move from House 12, they move to House 1 here. But if you look carefully, if you are to look at this star here, according to the International Astronomical Society, this is a star that belongs to Virgo. That is in contradiction with the system that we learn, because what we do is when we designate these two divisions from here, this narrow band designated by these two blue lines is the exit of house 12. So these two bars make up house 12. And how do we determine which constellation is dominant in that area? We look at the star that has the greatest brightness in that area and look at where it is, whether its constellation, which constellation is. That's why we can't agree that this star actually belongs to Virgo, but it belongs to Leo the Lion, because Leo clearly, as a constellation, has a much brighter star, a magnitude 2.1 star, the tail of the lion as it is. The most important division is this one, because now we're talking about house 1 here, dominated at this point in time by this maiden. But if you look carefully, if we were to take away this indicator, I don't know why I'm not able to view all the pointers that enable me to turn off. There is something that has taken over my screen, and I need to change that, whatever it is that is hiding part of my screen. Just give me a minute. I have to determine whether it is something across. I hope that now, oh yes, now I can be able to turn off. I wanted to turn off these animations that show various constellations, their appearance. And what I want to say, and bear with me, this is very, very important for us, is that if you look at this part of the sky, it is no other than the nebula, or rather, if you talk about this point of beginnings of this house 1, there is no clear major star. We have these ones, which is magnitude 3 at the limit of visions. Across what? There's another one that is also magnitude 3, 4. There are a few that are named here, but they don't even belong to our zodiac constellations. The constellation here, we are talking about Corvus. So neither Leo nor Virgo has a major presence at the opening, at the beginning of house 1. That is my main point. And we want to, so this is a sort of a disputed territory, no man's land at this point in time. It is dispensation. But we are certain that at some point in time, a star, a far more permanent star, or this one that is transitioning, will appear here. And it will take a while. And it will be so discernible and clear that it is possibly to be an extension, our prophetic, the major prophetic announcement of astronomical astrology, or rather Neo-Terran astrology, is that there will be a star here that will make it clear that the first division of house 1 is not the domain of the maiden, but it is the domain of the lion. We believe we can make that star. If we are not able to bring it about in inference, then we have to wait for thousands of years for the nebula to move across here and cross this line, the 0-degree range of our own astronomical understanding, or 180 degrees by the other system. And by that point in time, using the principles we've established, then this house will be. And what's important now about that, you may ask? The importance about that is that no longer will be in the age of the maiden, could be the age of the lion, because the lion will become not only the point at which we cross the year, but also where we begin the year. We begin under the sign of a lion. The age of the lion will become. Some of us like to call it the messianic age. it will be the clear indicator of the end times. If you read the Gospels and the Christ speaking about it, so this either whether the nebula is going to cross this line and appear here, or another star will appear in this region, and it becomes clear it can be best understood as part of constellation Leo to begin the real transcendental dispensation, where there will be no division between the celestial and the terrestrial, and there will be also no division between the spiritual and the material. Now I'm going a little bit too fast, so what you're going to see, I want to go to tonight and look at what today is the coming to the 9th, and if you look here, is it sometime tonight? We are no longer looking at the comet. Look at the comet. Its separation by this point in time, it's just 1.4 degrees. And this is the period in time when we are talking about. Sorry, I seem to have lost that comet. Let's zoom out so that we can change time. And if you move significantly to the middle of the night, we need to clear these astronomical calculations. For now, is that conjunction will happen, and the elongation of this comet will reduce from western elongation to eastern elongation. And let me just let's do that so that I can see the exact point in time where that happens. 0.04, 0.03, 0.01, 0.005, and exactly around there. This is a significant point in time. You can go up to the accuracy of a second. So at 28 minutes to 3 a.m. or as you like to 9 o'clock in the morning, there'll be no distinction between the sun and the moon, and not the sun and the moon, but in ecliptic longitude, there'll be no difference between Comet C2023 A3 and the sun, and therefore there will be a proper exchange of energies. And the position of the sun at that time will become significant, because what we know is, well, Comet C2023 A3 is not going to make its another appearance in a foreseeable future. The sun will be making this appearance every single day, and this will be on the 7th date of our second month. Becomes a very, very important date about the attainment of this. So we're going to mark it with certain things, and in the days to come, we'll be commemorating it as a very significant event, as a turnaround for us. And just as the sun, the comet will turn from being dawn star to become evening star, bright evening star, that will work the transformation of what we are seeking to achieve in this period in time. And that's the time every one of us can observe that period in time. Please mark that time. If you don't know, that is around the 10th of October 2024, if you like that designation of that time, or you can talk about it being on the 6th of our second month at the very same time, 32 minutes past 2 a.m. or 8 o'clock. Now, over the coming days, it's going to be still important, because this period, this point in the sky is that we have two other indicators, signs. We have planet Venus here and we have planet Mercury. So on Friday, which is the 8th of our month, let me just check up on that calendar to confirm, but I'm certain it is the 8th of our second month. We're talking about the 8th of our second month. We're talking about this conjunction with the planet Mercury. I'll give far more specific indicators across that time so that we can be able to speak about it. So it will be Friday, and actually I know it's somewhere in the afternoon that appearance will happen, that conjunction with planet Mercury here will happen. And then a week later, C2023 A3 is going to make a conjunction with planet Venus. Where this is essential? Because for us, Mercury is the signifier of our progress in areas of personal achievement and development. Some call it wealth and influence or affluence. And therefore, you'll be able to speak to that period in time. At that time, I'll be able to give the times, even if I may not offer the word, I'll just give you times when you can speak significantly as authority over your own future. Now, Venus for us is an indicator for our family, coupling, and other kinds of partnerships that require creative synergy. And therefore, as I've said, this will be on the 15th of our second month. That is still going to be next Friday, the other Friday. And I'll also give the time specifically when you can speak about it, because that again will be the conjunction of the strength of transformation of this comet will give us significance to speak about that event having consequence of those areas of life. So therefore, there is as much fun as I'm going to cover tonight or this evening. If you have questions, you can direct them to our number. You can find us on WhatsApp. I'll be dropping those ones in the comment section so that you can be able to get and reach to us. And you also get a link that you can use to join our astronomical community, astrological community on Telegram and on WhatsApp. So thank you. God bless you. Love you. Have an influential, creative day now and going forth. Bye.